I took it.
You're good.
Alright, I got one right in the third pack.
Right. Guys, fan out. Ragefire is going to go with it.
Hi guys, thanks for coming. This is Red 101. I'm Ragefire. This is Rothgar and Dak. We're all in the Evan Light. This is Avias. Are you still Senegal's finest?
No, I'm
Ronan?
yeah.
And then Otacon is from
Order of the Raven.
Order of the Raven. We're going to do Red Sword 101. We're not really going to talk about glaives. We're going to focus mostly on min red because there's an advanced class. So we're going to let Exo kind of talk about the longer reds, and you should definitely go to his class. But there's some people here who have never fought red before, so we're going to do some really beginner stuff, and we'll kind of go into intermediate. I want you guys to ask questions as much as possible because I want this to be more of a conversation. We're not up here to be like, this is how you red fight. We're going to give you options, and you can decide if they work for you, because I can tell you everybody up here red fights differently. There's not a bunch of Peter the Quick videos out there showing you how to block strike with the red sword. We've kind of had to, like, especially these two guys have had to pioneer it on their own. So we're going to be seeing different stuff, and it might go against stuff you've heard somewhere else, but I hope it can help you. So I think the first thing we're going to talk about is just a basic stance. If you are right-handed, you're going to go right hand on top. You usually want your lead hand and your lead foot to be forward, and pretty much just right here. Honestly, that's really it. We're not going to go into like the German longsword stuff because I don't think a lot of it translates to Dag. If you do want to talk about that, this guy kind of does that a lot, but we're kind of going to stick to super basics.
It's not that it's not effective, it's that
It's really hard
foam
to
and
make
steel,
work.
two different things, so it doesn't
Yeah,
react
he's
the same
spent
way.
a lot of time, and he does fight steel, so we can't just spend a whole time going over that. But yeah, basic stance. Do you guys want to go over some footwork?
One more thing for basic stance actually is something you can kind of borrow from Japanese swordsmanship is aiming at the throat, which is not what you want to hit people at the throat, but when you're squaring off, it's an excellent defensive stance essentially. I do have a stance that's pretty consistent, which is very low and aimed at the throat.
I would say mine is pretty similar.
And like the reason you kind of want this wide spread is because it gives you more options for
You're ready to spring with your feet.
and you can make really dramatic shifts in elevation,
Yeah.
which are an incredible tool for a red swordsman.
We'll get into that.
And we'll get into that eventually. But yeah, just keeping it there is a pretty good spot because up gives them almost like an opening, and it just makes
You're keeping your biggest range.
you're keeping your greatest range, and it keeps it so that you can just kind of control the pace of the battle at that point.
Yeah. Footwork it's the same across all boards. Is anybody here a brand new fighter? You guys know basic. I mean, okay, so I mean we're gonna go over like when you're stepping. When you're walking around the field waiting to fight, it's just walk or run however you want. You can learn how to do that as a kid, but once you come up to a person, like crossing your feet is generally not a good idea when you're fighting because if somebody catches you mid-step, you're gonna be off balance.
Yep.
So shuffle steps, triangle steps, stuff like that is what most of us I would say use. Dak is a little more unconventional with that.
Me too.
Yeah, them
Really-
too.
I take really
Do
big
you guys
steps.
want to talk about harvesting footwork real quick?
I'll talk about it. This is more considered intermediate, and this is something for like little
It's something to chew on,
lighter
though.
guys, and this is something to chew on, okay? Like what Ragefire was saying before, this is not a HEMA or a SCA weapon, okay? It doesn't take much to manipulate a lot of the energy, okay? So this isn't going to throw you off balance that much. But in contrast to what Avias was saying, a very low and stable stance, what I consider is not conventional, what I call harvesting your footing. You're sacrificing that footing for a little bit more range. Now, if you have Avias here, and I normally can just hit him right here, just barely. But if I lead, I have more range on him, but look at my footing. But I gained, what, 6-7 inches?
It's a gamble.
It's
High
a
risk.
gamble. Well, during this
High
time, it's harvested and I can regain it, but you see a lot of fighters, blue fighters will do that. They'll do that thing where they'll lean, and they're trying to get that extra few inches, and that extra few inches is what's going to get you the kill. Sword and board, spear, red. Okay, so even in red fighting, you can leave with that main foot, or you don't have to, but whatever you do when you do this, keep that balance in mind. And a lot of footwork, just in general, is about balance.
Yes.
Swinging like this isn't going to make you topple over like a real traditional metal weapon, so you can do some weird things with
It
these
can be a
things.
good transition to a close too, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
And on that same page, a similar strategy is available when you're completely spread out like this, if someone comes in range, you can slide and drop. And
You see that split moment how he was like this? This is not very good balance.
It's not good balance, but if you will right yourself if the strike connects. So if I'm sliding, I'm fine.
He got me, and that's it. And that's all he needs to do for an instantaneous shot. So you're sacrificing your footing, harvesting it just for a second to get in that extra range, dodge.
Yeah, and most steps should be toe-toe. Like, you don't want to walk around on your heels a lot. You want to be on the balls of your foot, knees bent. It's a spring. I mean, it gives you any option you want. You're ready to go.
Yeah, you never want to be flat-footed.
Yeah, you don't want to be flat-footed. You don't want your knees locked. I mean, that's if you play D&D, you fucking don't get your deck.
Always
spot.
be on the balls of your feet. Always.
Yeah.
If you're not on the ball of your feet, you do not have balance over yourself. Okay. Just remember that. You can get yourself hurt if you're flat-footed.
And when facing somebody, you don't want to be square for the most part. You want a
need
smaller
profile.
profile.
Yes.
It's a smaller hitbox, and when we get into back shields and armor and stuff, we'll go into why that's even better. But
crouching also takes more energy. Okay. You're crouching, you're burning a lot of energy like this, but you have more defense too. So these are things to chew on that work for some people that don't work for others. Okay.
Yeah, your body type is something to consider as well. I mean, we're talking about min-reds a lot, and for the most part, we're all probably under 6 feet. We're all like around 200 pounds or so. Maybe not you, but I mean, but a guy like Robus, he's going to use a min-red, and it's not going to work for him. Proportionally, it's disadvantageous. So that's why, like, you was that like a 55 or something? Yeah, you guys are, and you, I mean, the 55s and 60s are going to be probably what you're going to go to, and most of this will translate. It's more of a weight.
Take a look at our body type and look at the weapons you're holding in front of you. These are our chosen
Yeah.
weapon styles right here, guys.
When you train with a 4-foot and then you move up to a 5, you'll be a god because your range increases.
So,
Go ahead.
So something that's really, really important for all beginning red fighters, people often ask me, like, how do I get good at red? You have to be stubborn, and you have to fight for years with a min red. Dedicate yourself to the minimum red. My personal belief is that everything is compatible upwards as you go inside, up in size with weapons, but it does not translate backwards at all. So if I learn a bunch of crazy moves with this many more inches as I'm learning, it just won't translate back down to a smaller weapon.
This is what we call a medium red. This is a min, but those, 4 or 5 inches means
Oh,
a lot.
It's
Okay?
huge.
Typically, 80% of your shots are going to be on the 2 to 3 inches of your weapon. If you're doing it right, you're going to be blowing out your tips, or you're going to be doing wear on your tips. Okay?
Yep.
You don't really hit usually too much here.
Yep.
All right here, guys.
I mean, I think most of us probably go through a sword at like in 2 days. Or 3
an
days.
event probably
Yeah.
once you get to that point.
This will last me maybe 3 days.
Yeah, and that's to be expected. When it starts happening, you're like, man, this is getting.
That's why we all have like 5.
You're doing it right.
Yeah, you're doing it
You're
right.
hitting like a
Once you
beast.
start doing that, it's good. And like, yeah, we'll continue.
I
Whatever.
have 8 weapons I cycle through
Yeah.
daily.
Yeah, but at go to your practice, take off your back shield, your armor, get your min red, and do your time, because that's what it is. I think min red probably has the highest learning curve of anything.
Absolutely.
Maybe Florentine, I don't know. I don't fight flow, but
me
you still have 2 things in your hand. It's gonna suck. You're gonna go here rag, and you're gonna get shot 100 times.
It's pretty much the same gut stab ratio you're gonna
Absolutely.
suffer from.
And when you're like, oh, I'm gonna go grab a glaive for this fight, don't. Like, if you're on a bridge, don't grab the glaive. Learn to fight on a bridge with your red. It'll suck.
How long have you been fighting with a min red?
I've been fighting 7 years.
I've been fighting about 6 years with a min red.
Yeah.
How long have you been fighting
Like
with a min
3
red?
years.
3 years?
3 years min red.
There you go, guys. That gives you a sense of how
We're
much
just
work
now.
you need
Like
to do.
me and him are just now getting to the point where I consider us like above average.
3 years is when it is when like the transition.
The first year
happens.
sucks. It really does. Like, you don't know what the fuck to do.
It's
But
horrible.
hopefully you
My
guys
hands
you
are
guys might
destroyed.
get a jump start, because we didn't have this. We didn't have anybody teaching us that many years ago.
Also, if you don't have gloves,
Yeah.
you're going to regret it for the rest of your
We'll
life.
talk about that later.
Yeah.
For balance and footwork, do any of you have any questions for that
please.
subject? Please raise your hand now. We can discuss it. Anything you want to know about footwork and balance right now before we go to the next subject? Nothing? We covered it all.
There we go. And it's something, just my last tidbit, I guess, for footwork and balance is, we mentioned earlier that, there are certain maneuvers that are going to make you feel as if you're off balance, and they're really effective. You kind of have to do some really interesting, strange approaches with this style.
Experimenting.
Just learn those shots that throw you off balance, but then find a few return points that get you right back on.
When it comes to footwork, don't overthink it.
No.
You learned how to walk when you were a baby, and we're just walking around. Like, you know what I mean? There's certain stuff you can do, but really, just do what comes natural to you. Don't fall over. Walk up to somebody, fight them, run up if you want to fucking like check the shit out of somebody, but
And you will fall over.
yeah, it'll
You will. I
happen.
fall over.
If you want to get a spot to start at, just start fighting always like this, on the balls of your feet, okay? It's going to feel weird as hell, but it's going to start training you in the right direction,
Always have your
okay?
knees bent.
You'll
Have your
naturally
knees
progress.
bent,
Like
you'll
what he's
naturally
doing
progress.
right there, you can just do that while you're waiting to res or warm up. Those triangle steps and stuff, that's red fighting footwork.
Yeah, like I mean, there's like different pivot points that you're working on, and when you're this is more of an advanced thing, but when your balance is part of your swing strength. So when you're shifting your balance, bring a shot in with
Right
it.
when your foot lands, your shot should
Yeah.
connect pretty much.
You'll
So-
feel the surge of lightning from foot to your
Yeah,
hip.
Yeah,
like every ounce of your energy should be moving into your.
Yeah. Going
stride.
off that, we can move into body mechanics and hitting. For the most part, for basics, you should be. I recommend max handle if you want a historical
Yes,
handle. I mean,
yes.
do your thing, but you can always choke
Yeah,
down.
max handle
But
too.
grabbing up here, if you got a really short handle, it's gonna feel weird. But max handle, I guess like I mean, I don't know if anybody does like the rogue stuff with the red. A little bit.
I'm like
Yeah, some you get like trigger grip and stuff.
That's
kinda-
flavor, man.
Yeah, that's flavor.
up
It's
to you.
preference.
whatever
know.
feels good.
Yeah, but basics.
Feels good.
Whatever feels good.
Like a lot of people when they start, they're all arms. You're doing baseball bat swinging, and the most important thing you can do with the red is learn how to do the fastest, hardest shot you can with the least amount of energy. Especially with the min red, because you're probably the most disadvantaged fighter on the whole field. Maybe Flo. They're kind of on the same level in certain regards.
You'll
but-
burn a lot of energy.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
That
The-
energy is your worst enemy out there, guys.
Yeah,
It's going to limit you.
The shot is pushing with your top hand and pulling with your bottom hand. That's the basics of body mechanics. Going from having your feet bent on your toes, you're turning your hips, your shoulders, and at the end of that, you're uncoiling and pushing and pulling. You don't need to swing from here.
Yeah.
For most people to take a shot, not a shield shot, we'll get into like shield shots and people not taking with stuff like that, but that shot is all you need. It's a blue. It doesn't need to be a red. If somebody's got armor and they call light, then you can kind of
Yeah.
go from there. But starting off at 11 is how, and not having the control to do it is how you hurt people. So
My like I'd say my like go-to swing strength. You might have just right.
Yeah, hit me.
Is like it's always a shoulder shot for my kill shots usually, and it's just like that hard, which
All
is
you
like
need.
a mild blue.
90% of people will take
But
that.
no,
99.
it goes the whole. The huge advantage to this weapon is not that it breaks shields, it's that it goes through armor
Armor.
like butter. So
We'll get into
essentially, you're finding people who are slowed down by armor at minor openings, and you can kill shot them before they can.
Those
react.
shots will 90% of the time be better than Conaning it up. And
Yeah.
fucking,
You're
Absolutely.
not gonna shatter somebody with these.
Absolutely.
You are not
You wanna
gonna
sit in it?
you're not gonna come up and you're not gonna fucking power through people. You're not.
They'll just what the moment they take that shot.
Yeah.
It's a term we call telegraphing, okay? And telegraphing basically tells your opponent what you're going to do. If you are doing this, I'm telling him I'm coming over this ride, and he can do whatever he wants. Whereas if I just,
It's done.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him anything.
Nothing.
I didn't tell him anything.
can
I
come
can,
from any
I can
angle,
do
yeah.
anything. But when I crank, I'm telling him that way. Okay? Same with anything you do when your body mechanics. Ask yourself, am I using too much? Am I giving myself away? Okay?
Yeah.
Because that is also going to get you, and that's something that's abstract that a lot of you probably don't even realize you're doing. You're giving yourself away. Like, I'm just gonna wait for you to telegraph. You're telling me what I need to block, and you don't want to
If
give
a
them that
shieldman sees
information.
you come up
Yeah.
like that, they're just going to step in and just take it on the shield.
Get-
They know what you're going to do.
Get yourself filmed or practice in front
Yeah,
of a full-length
sparring
mirror.
Yep. Yep.
Look at yourself in a mirror and you'll realize what you're doing wrong.
You're and
Footwork.
I don't know. I'm sure you guys have different strategies. We all do. But for the first, I'd say 4 years that I fought red, my only real strike zones were the legs and their sword arm.
Yep.
That's I mean that's really all I did.
The 4 basic shots that I think you should, you're facing real quick, that you should go with, and everything that we're going to talk about, even up into advanced, is probably derivative of this. Onside chop, like probably from 10 to,
Yep.
to 4, wherever that is. Offside chop, a little more dangerous because you're
Yep.
going in front of their heads. You need to be careful with
Yep.
those. One-handed leg shots, because there's no reason to, if I swing 2 hands, I'm going to die. And then one-handed stabs, because even with a sword and board, if you've got 2 hands on your red, they match you in range for the most part, unless they're really short.
Does anybody have a blue?
No,
we can
we
show
don't.
this range
You guys see
in
that right here?
reality.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Do it just a stab, okay? Now he's doing a stab, okay? Go full range with it as you can. No, don't turn your belt. Do it double-handed, just
Okay.
like that. Okay, where he can get me, I can turn sideways and get him.
Yeah.
I can still swing him, okay? Now, but when he goes blue, Look now how it changes,
And a
okay?
weapon if you even strike.
If I even strike, he can get that, okay?
go to the leg.
So you can compete blue on blue, but red on blue, I can still compete with you just because you got a red.
And with the leg thing, the same thing. If you're going double-handed leg, I'm dead all over. But if I'm like this, he
Especially
can still hit
blocking.
me, but we're gonna go over casting.
Re-
We'll talk
retreating
about
cast.
casting more in detail, but with body mechanics in general, what you want to take from it is there's this shot, and then there's this shot, okay?
Yeah.
Understand that this is like 6 to 7 more inches.
Range is your
okay?
game. Yeah.
Yeah, range control.
Ask yourself.
Mind if I throw a few more shots on you, my friend?
Can we use it for?
So the simple shots that were incredibly effective for me when I first started were, like I said, just 2 shots. I wouldn't even offside shots. I would do occasionally, but I would. So we were talking about telegraphing, which is eventually because of one of your strengths, because you can use telegraphing to fake them. So it was a simple fake of like pump high drop to the leg, which, I mean, when you're a newer fighter, that's the best thing you can do for your team, oftentimes. And then they like to charge you, so that, and then slide back drop, or even like just hard chop to their arm while they're chasing.
Eventually, they're gonna high cross.
Like eventually they're gonna open up. You're gonna have range.
I'm
or
here. Where am I going to strike at?
They're
I mean,
either
I have
gonna
to.
they're gonna get it here, or their shield's gonna eat it, and you're gonna go through them.
We'll deal with charging a little more in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
And those are some really basic strategies that are gonna integrate into the rest of your fighting forever.
Practice shoulder shots with people.
Yes.
Like everybody wants to do it because
Yes.
it's pretty. It's really safe.
highly effective.
because it's just outside
Yeah.
of your normal stance. It's
Yep.
just a tap. But I mean some people's necks go out to the end of their shoulders. And I mean what happens if you go to red somebody and they get jostled in the line? You just cracked in the head. You're the bad guy.
This is
It's
basic
the worst
sword
feeling
fighting.
ever.
So
It is. It sucks.
It's the worst feeling.
I'm
ever.
going to show you what is an unsafe, I would say a risky, an advanced a red sword hit is right straight down, okay?
It's a lot.
You'll see fighters do this. If you don't have the utmost ability and
Timing,
experience, do
yeah.
not do this,
Go
okay?
with your
Right,
friends
beat it.
and
Yeah,
just
you need-
when you're-
45 it.
Yeah, 45 it at the beginning. But if you want to learn the 12s, when you're sparring or at practice, just move your hands. No body mechanic.
It's
And-
literally gravity. Is all you
yeah,
need
just
at that
like
point.
gravity at the beginning and learn the timing, learn what their footwork is, learn how to read people and throw these shots.
When you throw a 45, you're probably thinking, oh, well, that's the kiddie throw. Incorrect, okay? When I'm throwing like this, I have to kiddie throw it because I don't want to hurt him, right? When I'm 45, I can give him thunder and hell.
Yeah.
I can just go full bore because I know I'm not going to hurt him, okay? That's an advantage you are given, okay? Because you're safe, you can wail on him, okay? But when you're like this, you got to be careful. And I wouldn't even recommend as a new fighter even
Safety
doing
aspect aside of that shot, the reason you don't throw a lot of power is for its foam. It'll bounce up and clip their ear and they'll call head.
Even if it's
So it's
clean, yeah.
almost useless.
it. That's why I'm calling it for red basic. I would say
45
it's an
and
unsafe
honestly,
or not recommended
when you're
shot.
starting, go 3 o'clock.
Yep.
I mean, don't even throw offside. Don't cross their center line. Practice that stuff. Just stay on this side. You know what I mean? It's the safest thing you can do.
And as more of an intermediate strategy, just to kind of drive your point home, I really don't throw shoulder shots unless I throw a fake to lock them into place, so they're just not gonna move.
Just trying to hit him there
Just for
doesn't
a
ever
second.
work.
So because the fake makes, I'm gonna kill them, but it also makes it safer for everyone involved. So I go like this, and they shift their weight, and then I can swing, hey, and they just kind of drop it. And they
And
don't
it's not
have the
hard at all.
ability. They don't have the
Did
ability
you
to
see
like
his body
even put
mechanics
their-
on that? He didn't have to do anything crazy. If anything, he telegraphed on the other side, sold it, and then just
Yeah.
a tap on the
And
right.
when you're not beast moding every hit, you're gonna fight longer. You're gonna be able to return.
Oh, you gotta
a lot
manage your
faster.
energy. It's an energy management.
And you won't be shot as much.
Yeah.
Dude, anything more about body mechanics?
Any
before we
questions
move
on
Any
body
questions?
mechanics, guys? Before, because we're starting to get into
Is it
strikes
making
and
sense?
stuff.
Okay, good. Let's go to defense. Let's talk about. Dag, do you want to lead with some handle blocking talk?
Okay. Well, there's basically if you're gonna defend yourself with a red. Okay, how am I gonna protect myself? You basically got two. You got a couple schools of thought. You're gonna block with your weapon, or you're gonna block with your supportive shield. And we'll talk about shields later.
let's
And we all have. Do you want to talk about shields first? or
No, let's wait.
Okay, we're gonna cover shields second, okay? But if I choose to protect myself with my baby, all right? There's 2 schools of thought off of that, okay? You can block with the blade, and you can invert block. The shoulder seal I'm using for training purposes, but I mean, you can basically block like this. If he's going for a low leg shot, I can block, okay? Now it's pushing my tendons, so I'm actually working against it, okay? But and this is where you guys need to take it and go with it, but and different people are different
Everybody's got everyone.
styles, okay? But what we talk about, and I'll talk about here for today, is handle blocking. It's something that's very new in the past
do
2
without
years.
gloves.
Okay?
Like, you can't-
the
yeah, I
first
know
thing
that
I'm going
one
to tell you is do not handle block without proper equipment. I recommend either lacrosse or better. Lacrosse or hockey gloves.
Hockey gloves have a solid plastic thumb.
Just go for the hockey gloves.
Hockey gloves have a clamshell. It'll prevent you from jamming your thumb. I have broken my thumb twice.
See.
I have broken 7 different knuckles, okay?
Like,
I've been there. I have not broken a single bone in my hand since I've used hockey gloves to this day, and I don't know anybody who has broken their hand with hockey gloves on. So personally, I recommend hockey gloves. Disadvantage of a hockey glove is you can't throw javelins very well. You have to pinch them with 3 fingers.
That's kind of the dart throw anyways. You should be doing
Okay,
it.
you're limited, but you ain't throwing 40 feet. Okay,
Yeah.
so back to handle blocking. You got your equipment. Okay, you're doing everything right. Dak, how do I handle block? You have. This is why we talk about max handle. You want more room to block.
You're
A
not
min
trying
like
to defend a weapon.
a min like Avias has less handle room, so he has less defense in that department.
Absolutely.
Okay, mine's a little bit longer. Remember, handle max is 1/3 of the weapon. Okay, so you get crazy with other things with halves and stuff, but just to keep it simple and basic, this is your red. This is your defensive shield. Okay.
You're not trying to take it on the
So-
hand every time either. You want
Say
to
Avias is going to strike, he wants this kidney, okay? Let's go over here. All right, if he wants this kidney, I'm going to come on the outside.
Let me use the sword.
Okay. Now, I'm going to protect this with just my handle, okay? So if he's coming across like this, you can kill me like this. Why? Because I have my handle right here, okay? I need it perpendicular. Now, there's nothing he can do to wrap me. He can
Better
try
yet,
to get
turn
around
into
me.
it, yeah.
It's gonna feel weird as hell, okay? But look where I'm at. If you want to look at handle blocking, the handle should be in line with your body. Diagonal, it should
Yep.
be in line with your body. It's so they can't get around you. He can try all he wants, and he's not gonna get it. If you're getting popped like this, you're sloppy.
You're too
Your
far
stuff's
out.
Yeah,
forward.
and at that
turn
point-
that torso.
at that point, since he's gotten that close to you, you may look off balance, but now you control the
Yeah.
fight because you just step in and you have him. He can't shield bash you. You have control
I am
over him.
cranked up
Well,
with potential energy.
And yeah, your return strike is nasty. Immediate.
Okay.
Immediate.
So
return
handle
strike.
blocking, that is the key thing about handle blocking. You're able to block a shot and return immediately. And in the world of dagger here, this is a very desired method because these weapons are so darn fast.
Yep.
Okay.
Strike all day.
We can strike all day.
One strike.
So
On the, oh,
you got this, you got these quadrants. Okay. This is that handle blocking. Wear those gloves. Go ahead.
Below the knee, you kind of need to decide.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna want to have it in your head. When I get shot below or get struck at below the knee, I'm either gonna try to freaking put my palm on the ground.
Yeah, real
or
quick with
move.
legs. Now
With
legs,
handle blocking.
If he wants this shin, I have 2 options. I can either crouch and dedicate, or you got that sacrifice. I can pull that foot
Yep,
up. Okay.
The slide back.
Keep
is
it simple,
so
guys. Just
important.
2 options. Pick which one. Just pick it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's your options. You don't get anything else. It's red 101. That's it. Okay. So you can either block that and try to strike, or just strike.
That'll
after.
have to do with your body type. Your
What about
flexibility.
sliding it and half
Not,
sliding?
that's advanced. No.
But
So I do. Oh, go ahead.
no, I mean what you're gonna talk about. Me and him do a lot of invert blocking. We
Yes,
don't
Yeah.
handle. I'm lefty, so I'm hand matching people, and that's part of the reason. But with invert blocking, something I think Exo or you told me, when you drastically defend something, it sets you up for a drastic offense.
Yes.
If I want a static block and have time to think
Yep.
and then reset, then handle blocking is the way to go. It doesn't mess you up. But when you
If you're coming like here on me, and I just take a full boom, like
Yeah.
it's not no good business for anybody.
you're not letting, you don't want to anvil, you don't want to let it
No,
sit
it's
there.
out.
You're
and then
pushing-
you come in and you drop.
Yeah, you don't want to take it. You want to kind of shunt their
Yeah.
blade away.
Yep.
and get it out of there. And it become, if you fight somebody a lot, it can be predictable because
Yes.
you really only have
Yes.
the overhand shots. And be careful with those. Don't come out of it and straight 12 somebody.
There are some really advanced things you can combo into it. It just
Yeah.
takes time.
Yeah, we're gonna. probably
One
not
other
get
thing
done.
with handle blocking I will talk about is with flails. When you're guarding with flails, when I talked about perpendicular, everything when you're versing a flail needs to be extended
Oh, yeah.
a few inches out, okay? A lot of guys are getting popped, and they got the form, they don't understand. Remember, a flail can curve. Extend it out. I'm versing a flail. I need to extend it out, but keep it in perpendicular.
And you're
okay?
blocking the chain, not the shaft of the flail.
Blocking the L.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're handle blocking, just setting it there and hoping you got it in right position can get you hit in the forearm. When you see the shot, you push into it to make sure the handle of your hand is hitting it. You're not going to give him a chance to get that wrap on you.
One thing I do, because I had my thumb broken, straight jam back from handle blocking, which is why we say wear gloves, especially hockey, is for me now, if I do handle block, when I'm not being aggressive, because that's usually the only time I do. When I handle block, I turn my blade so the flat's there, and I turn into the strike, because that way this thumb's over here and this thumb's behind it. So my thumbs won't get hit.
Yeah, the back of your hand is like on gloves,
Yeah,
except
fuck
most
that.
padding.
This is fine.
You're not really gonna break that unless somebody's got like a failing glaive or something.
So I've got another weird one for blocking my legs,
for it.
and it's most of my style is completely aggressive, but this is one of the weird parts that's helped me a lot. Is I do the slide back where my toes meet, and I do a hanging defense.
Yeah.
And a hanging defense is not, and you're not gonna really follow it up with anything. It's more of like a oh shit moment.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
coming in blasting. I'm just like, no, eat everything, and then I can
That's
set
full
myself.
on defense.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna get his legs.
Nope.
At least you're alive.
With the invert blocking, you can block your legs that way,
Like-
but because your strength is up here, you can get powered through real easy.
Yeah,
if someone's got a glaive,
I can
I'm
walk
probably
that
not-
up. I can't. He can't do anything from here. This
Yep.
is why.
It's hazardous.
It's usually across your body, like for righties, it's going to be from your left. If like for a glaive or something, somebody's swinging hard, you don't just set it there. You have to counter swing into it to make sure you're not getting powered through.
Absolutely.
But that way, if you don't want to move, or especially if you want to step in, you don't have to try to crouch or
Your
move
legs
back.
are extremely important, guys. If you lose your legs, you're pretty much dead. Okay,
Yeah.
so keep it simple. You either dedicate and block manually, you can pull that leg out, or emergency pull cord.
Yeah.
Put that thing out there
when
like
you're
that.
starting with legs, pick one of those and don't deviate from it. That way you can have that as an automatic
Just be
response.
instinctive.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I am one of the worst defensive red fighters, like admittedly. I trained with EXO, and he's highly defensive, and I kind of went the opposite way. I just attack into people's attacks. I choose not to block the majority of the time, unless you have to. There's certain situations where a hanging block is the only thing that's going to get you. But if anybody wants, you grab the sword and board for just a second. Thank you. For the majority of the time with the sword and boarders, if they're attacking you, just strike into their attacks. Like, you can just, if you're just striking into their attacks,
Block a high cross from him.
a high cross?
Yeah, like step in. No, like a handle block.
Oh, handle block, okay.
Like, or like, here, do it to me, and keep it there. What am I gonna do from here if I just let him hit me? You know what I mean?
Oh,
I can't
yeah,
really
yeah.
swing.
Yeah.
Once you don't want to get into a point. As
Yeah.
a beginner, you don't want to give up your range.
I can cover
You're-
something you did
I-
for that.
He's my bitch right here.
Yeah, exactly. Once I get in there, we can short sticking, like where you're hitting with the bottom 6 inches, is really advanced and it's dangerous. Yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, like you don't want to just, especially with the sword and board where they've got this goddamn wall in front of you.
Yeah.
You don't want to freaking, you don't want to give up your range for a block.
Nope.
That's
Well,
how we
that's
go
something-
back to that tip of the sword again. That's where you want to be.
Going and closing.
First
And,
2 inches of a red.
Again, a slightly intermediate, but along the lines of your handle blocking, there are times where there is no attack. They get in and you're just turning, they're there. Handle like locking. So a lot of times they'll keep their defense low, so you just press. And then you're in control here. You have more of a stick to get yourself out,
Yeah,
essentially.
you have more leverage.
And you can strike hard as hell when you're backing off.
Do you want to talk about
Um,
binding or later?
Which one?
Binding or later?
Well, we
I
were
don't know.
talking about we were at the weapon defense. We still got to talk about the shields and stuff.
Okay, so yeah.
With that,
This was just
if you
incorporated.
static block a sword
Yeah.
and board, you can be faked because now I don't have a shield. I have a red. I can be faked, and I'm giving him a bounce.
Yep.
With that too. So that's something to take in control. Handle blocking is really easy because if you're doing the basic stance, it's just there.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about range control and stuff so that hopefully you're not just trying to stand 2 feet away from the sword and board and block 5 shots, because you're going to get to a point where they're always going to be faster than you. 100% defense always loses, especially with the red, because you have something on your center line. You don't have a sword and
It's
shield.
supplementary
You have to
to
pick
your
a
kit.
side, so
Yep.
you're going to get faked.
It's defense blocking on a red sword is a last ditch effort.
Yeah, it's not the way you want to go.
It's
You
an
don't want
offensive style, right?
It
It's
mean-
an offensive style.
Exactly. It means you loosened up too much.
Yeah.
Like ideally, we would never have to block. We would just
Yeah.
drop them before anything
Yeah.
had to happen. But you have to learn it.
Do you guys have any questions about handle blocking, the part of defending yourself with the sword in general, before we go on to shield defensing? All right, no question. You gotta remember, we want that back and forth talk. Okay, so this is your chance. You know, we're coming out the rag, but if not, I
You
guess
can also
we're
just
doing
grab
good.
us on the field.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
after. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
We're gonna go over that.
Pommel to block.
Like,
I mean,
Oh, you can talk about it now.
Yeah.
okay. Well, I mean, it depends. Like, what do you mean? Like, trying to block your legs with your pommel, or are you talking about using it to control your opponent? All right. See, like, even a red sword or like a sword and board, if somebody's trying to close on you, when that sword and board closes, or now like me, I I do this. I don't let them close. But if they close, you can do the handle block, then use your pommel, and they're dead.
Now
Or
that's
you can
getting-
step past them.
Are you talking about drop pommel blocking?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's
We'll talk
definitely
about that.
advanced.
Yeah.
You don't want to be close enough when you're a beginner, especially you guys who are like don't know the footwork, don't know body mechanics. That can go wrong.
We don't have a red.
real
Give
fast.
me that thing real quick.
But
drop pommel blocking, just for you guys to know, in case you see it. See these little bastards with this shit on?
yeah, when you have a
okay?
20-inch handle or something.
This is basically. This
When you
is
get-
basically so I can do this.
yeah, you just pull
Okay.
it down.
And that's all it is. Okay, so that is the
right here.
other option, you know, where you basically can do that.
That's
and
the
I can
oh
still
fuck moment.
strike, you know.
Yeah.
That's
You
why
should
they
be
have
moving
this
before
weird
that.
stuff
Yeah.
here. Okay.
Unless you want
Just
to
drop pommel.
run up a glaive or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna go over pole arm attack.
We're going over every weapon set hopefully.
Okay.
But let's go to casting.
What about back shields and all the shields?
You guys, okay, we'll do shields.
Defense.
Like he said, when you start, don't wear, have armor and shields for events because you want to have fun and not get just absolutely destroyed every time you pay money to go on vacation. But when you want to
Yeah.
get good,
Yeah, it's seriously.
don't wear armor, don't wear a back shield. But I think that at a certain point, a back shield or an arm shield can take you to that next
Yes,
level.
yeah.
Once you got your handle blocking, your footwork, your body mechanics, once you are a red fighter, then you want something to give you that next level.
Yeah.
I think that back shield is the way to go with the red sword.
Yep.
And he's
Mid-red.
wrong. He's a faggot. No, I'm kidding.
Because when you start getting a little more advanced to the point where you want a back shield, you're going to be doing stuff with different feet forward and both sides. You don't want to be locked in on something on one arm to where you always have to lead with that side. You always have to defend with that side. So I think the back shield is the better option. I don't think shape really matters. I think the size matters. I think you want something that extends a little bit beyond you so that when you are profiled, you don't have to block over here. You have the wrap shot protection. You don't want a GTG shield on your back
Yeah.
though because it's going to slow you down. You need to be
Yeah.
kind of reasonable.
And like take it from somebody who started using a back shield almost right off the bat as I started red fighting because of some sweet ass order videos. Basically, this will happen when you finally like, oh, I forgot it or I don't feel like using it today.
No, it's terrible.
We'll come to fight and we'll be locked up and I'll be like, haha, go to
Yeah, you know,
spin
get
and be
hit.
like, I
You
hate it.
can't use
'Cause
your
you get
back
used
shield
to
as
it.
a crutch.
I am crutched by my back shield.
Getting there.
I started using my, but I just never take.
You
it
better
off.
wear it all the
Yeah.
time. If you
Yeah, that is the other thing.
There's
I
a
mean,
different camp, which is like I think your approach is more wise. Yeah, and I started back shield. They weren't really around when I started, but I just threw one together within the first 6 months of Red, and it became part of me like very
Yeah.
I'm
quickly.
getting
but,
to that point.
but total crutch. Like if they're like red tourney, I'd be like I'm gonna like literally just die in like the first swing.
If
I'm
you
like,
want to be
"Oh."
able to do red tourneys and you want to
Yeah.
there's kind of a mentality, I don't want to make this sound as an insult, but like a stick jock mentality where guys are going out there just min reds, no armor, no back shield, and that's pure skill and that's cool.
Yeah.
That if you want to be good at fighting, do that. If you want to be good on the field and kind of be sloppy sometimes and be able to
Well-rounded,
get creative,
yeah.
get a back shield, get some armor,
That's
and
another
let
dimension,
because it's
yeah.
basically like you fucked up and got hit and it allows you to blow off a shot is
Yeah.
what armor does.
Like I fight red sword. I like sword and board too though. And when I'm sword and boarding, if I spin to block with my back shield, I'm a moron because I don't have my back shield anymore.
Yep.
So it just became such a crutch. Now I'm majoring in pole arm, and it's not such an issue anymore because I don't really have to spin to get in close or block anything.
I think that back shields are the most effective until you cross about 60-inch sword. Because at that point, with the 60-inch sword, you're transitioning into more of a pole arm style.
You're not going to be turning
Yeah,
as
so
much. It's more.
Yeah.
You're
linear.
always going to be keeping your minimum profile with that buckler forward. And a lot of your strikes are going to be like this, and stabs.
Yeah.
Whereas with min red, it's just such a
Your
dynamic.
foot changes.
Yeah, like I can't outrange all these guys. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
in your like mobility on that arm is so important. You don't want to hinder it with a buckler.
If you're gonna get a back shield, there's a lot of people who set it and forget it, and every like four events, you're like, oh shit, I just
Yeah.
blocked a wrap shot. But you can actually use it. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying like if he's gonna strike at me,
Yeah.
just be like, ha ha, and block a shot. Like that's.
But if he
stupid.
did do that, it'd be kind of intense.
But
I'm
there's
impressed.
ways you can set up to be like the most basic one is when you're profiling, you can profile a little
Yeah.
bit more,
So
and that whole
it
side
just
is.
pretty much eliminates that.
Yeah,
side,
it's a deterrent. I mean, if a flail guy or a sword and board guy rushes you, they're gonna have to chop or go low. So it kind of in your head, you know, okay, I can't get hit in the back.
Yep.
I can't get wrapped. So you need to be mindful of it instead of just putting it on and forgetting about it.
Also,
So, oh, go ahead.
just important on back shields, it's one of my biggest problems when I use them, is when I turn to block, a lot of times I find myself like bending forward a little, and my shield comes to about here. So if I bend forward, my butt's out, and I get killed.
Yeah.
So when you block, a lot of times you twist, but you drop down a little.
Yeah, when you're blocking an arrow or a jab, you don't want to bend. You want to keep your back straight and bend your knee.
Yeah.
And
it
I-
can.
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. That can lead back into the coiled striking that we were
Yeah,
talking
it drastic
about.
Absolutely.
defense sets you up for drastic offense.
On the whole concept of back shield blocking projectiles, this is what I do subconsciously on the field is this forward stance like this, which you should be having a lot of times when you're on like a line especially, will get you shot, but
In the
you're
face.
much more protected on your right side
Yeah.
because of that. If you see an archer tracing you on the left, keep your feet crossed or reverse your
Switch,
stance. It's the only way you're going to be able to like block that shot quickly enough because the transition from here to like this, I've done it.
Hey, you're gonna hurt your
It's
back.
not fun.
But yeah, my hips
It's
are
dangerous.
like
If someone-
80-year-old woman hips.
If I was crossing behind him, I'll step on his ankle.
yeah, it's
you know,
and
like-
that's happened. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, like when you're on the line, you don't want to be an arrow. You can, like, if this is the line, you can stand like that
Yep.
or like that, and then in your mind, you know that side's like 75% safe. I mean, somebody could hit you in the leg.
Your back shield's mostly going to save you when people break through the line. When you're
Yeah.
like in a light fight, and there's a crutch, and that's when you kind of like you get shouldered up by
Yeah,
somebody,
yeah.
and so you're here and they're blocking here for
Yeah,
you, and
yeah.
you're kind of covering your buddy.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Can you pick up your pole?
Yeah.
Something I like to do with back shields, it's a little advanced, but I feel like I said if you have a back shield, you should use it. Is if he's coming with the green,
Yeah, absolutely.
And drastic
It's not that hard
offense.
because they want this.
yeah, they're going center
They
mass.
want because your stomach's a little too tucked back. So and the closest thing for them to get at max range is your arm.
And that
And
chin
your hip.
is such a hard
And
thing
so
to get to show
bam.
off.
And
It's-
then
it's
with
an easy
keep
shit.
it there, like with that drastic offense, that drastic defense, is you can come either
So
way,
you can rush it. Yeah.
disarm the spear. You know, we're getting
Absolutely.
into spins, and we'll probably talk about that, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what back shields help you do.
Absolutely.
Is it lets you flash that side of your body without worrying it. So that drastic defense and the drastic
Absolutely.
offense can come into play.
Another thing with back shields, people are often like, man, there's a pain. Okay, so my back shield design is $30. This is blue foam. This is 5 layers of blue foam. I've had this shield for 6 years, and it cost me like $30. I got a very large belt from Walmart, pure leather, and just strapped it over my chest. Usually I have it so that's adjustable. This one's getting old. But
He does have the single strap, and
Yeah.
it works for him, but I prefer backpack.
we'll talk about the advantages.
and
yeah.
the two belts
Yeah.
across so that my back shield never moves. Like if you know it's gonna move, you can always have that in your head, but if it doesn't
Yes.
move, it's just one more thing you don't have to worry about.
So to add another dimension to my fighting, I kind of liked it because, let's say you're coming in with a strike on this side, I can actually take my elbow and stretch it.
yeah, that is a good
And
point.
then return. So you have actually the ability to shift your shield, which gives you just another.
That's also when we're talking about your shield's shape and size is kind of your preference.
You'll figure out what you want. I mean, if you're like, I want you can have a strap and back
Yeah.
shield, round shield, so you can use it. But if you're not, I really like the heaters, and I see a lot of really good red fighters using
I think
heaters
they're the best.
because they give you the shoulder and torso coverage, but they don't have something hanging down to your ass that's
Absolutely.
gonna fucking bother
That's
you.
why
all the
my
time.
28 round keeps people from hooking up in because they just hit the shield right there.
There's different properties, so I kind of have to pick your poison. What do I want my weaknesses and strengths to be?
But your shoulders are better protected than mine.
They are, and I really like the fact that you kind of get the point down there because when you leg, you're
Yeah.
like, there's just no like, it's not catching up on me, it's not following me up. There are a lot of people that use like rectangular shields that will catch.
Yeah,
and that'll
that's
get
true.
you. That'll get you killed. So just keep it at that size. And then there are a lot of different styles of the back shield. Like this thing, you've got better back shield defense because of its size, and its girth, essentially. This one's was more like designed originally for mobility and things like that. Like I do a lot of rolling,
Yeah.
in which it covers your shoulders. So like more advanced, obviously, but it allows you to just take the ground without any pain.
Am I gonna break if I do that?
And that's absolutely advanced, but it's just another. I'm just trying to explain why I have less defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially, like this is the size that I probably wouldn't do if I started today with Red Sword.
Yeah.
It's probably a better one to learn on.
You want to take it away with Buckley's?
All right. So the other side of the coin is basically the back shields. I personally agree with them. I love back shields. I'm just wearing this for the class. I love these. I got I got back shield as well, okay? And back shields are pretty much what you would consider your go-to basic. I'll summarize a little bit what they're talking about. Back shields are great for skirmishes, one-on-ones, okay? When you get into line fighting, you're gonna want something else. Now you can use a back shield on a line, okay? But I don't think anybody will argue that something that's posted to your arm is more advantageous for that environment, okay?
Yes.
They talked about the specifics, using the right tool for the job, okay? I ain't gonna show up to a skirmish with this, it's not gonna be as good as that. And he ain't gonna go up to a line with that, it's not gonna be as good as this, okay? Now with the arm shield, it splits off into two ideas. You can go into a buckler, where basically you're strapping it to your forearm, okay, and that's more of just kind of a passive defense. You don't wanna rely on it too much, it's literally a freaking like 8-inch square circle around your hand, okay?
It's good for arrows though.
It's good for arrows, but you can control it more. You have a bigger range of motion with it, okay? Bigger than this guy, even bigger than that, okay? But I don't have one of those. Today I have the shoulder shield, okay? And shoulder shields, they can go on to either arm, and I'll talk about that later. But right now, basically I have it on the wrong arm, so I'm gonna talk about it from this side, okay? From a pole arm standpoint, I basically am forward mounted. Imagine in a line, group up on me tight. Okay, in a line, okay, imagine if you will, I had a back shield, it'd be clunky. I'd be like, God damn it, and I couldn't block that back shot. Right here, I'm good, okay? And this isn't a downward motion where I can strike from other angles, I can single blue, and I'm always protected. If you want to use it like a red, if it is a red, now I'm using a red, you probably want to post it on this arm, okay? Because now I'm leading like this with your main arm forward, like we talked about, and your main foot forward. So if you imagine that shield is right there, okay? Again, it's specific for line fighting, okay? You're able to directionally, like that. You're able to directionally block arrows like that, okay?
So I fight a lot of glaive. I started with glaive before red, and it translates with large reds and glaives the same. My basic stance is this.
Yeah.
And essentially, I can cover my entire back. This side is invincible. In with the drop block, so you're essentially just like a tank at this point.
Notice his hands. See how his hands in the up position? If you're gonna put it on inverted, then you might want to consider something else. Now you can go on either arm. That's your preference, okay? Yeah. If I had to put this, I was in line, I'd probably put it on that arm too. But this is more of a spearman, where you're thrusting, okay? But
I spear lefty. So
you're lefty, okay? That's why the answer is that.
So
he's a lefty, and this is righty for spears.
I'm righty before.
Play with it.
For a two-hander, but the reason that I chose to teach myself to do lefty for poles is because if I'm going down a line, can you grab the sword more really quick? And this is just something if you're gonna pick up a long red to think about. So let's just say you're not really paying attention to me, and you're just in your standard triangle defense. From this angle, you can just drop into people's guts, like down the line, just all the way down. Whereas with the right-handed, you can't really as easily turn that way. You're more fighting for like shoulders and legs. So it's really just a matter of choice.
And he's using a pole arm too, so remember,
totally different.
It changes with a red.
Yeah.
With a red versus pole arm, and you need to go on. I don't like this. It's going to feel foreign to you. It's like putting on the left shoe on the right foot. Okay, so play with both arms. But I recommend if you're going to these Ragnarok fights out there, pack one of these bad boys. Okay. Also, for some safety on this, be careful with this thing. Okay, if you hike it up too high, you can jack yourself in the eyeball. Done it sucks.
No, it's
really bad, okay?
It's the worst.
Don't jack yourself in the eyeball because you'll like handle block and you'll be like, oh no, and you hurt yourself, okay? So be careful with these. If you want a buckler that's basically on your hand, you can use that, like I said, to drop those, to hit those arrows, okay? But you're just gonna have even less, you're gonna have more control, less coverage. They always have the greatest coverage, but the least control. They have to turn their entire core to block. This, I only need my arm.
But as we've said multiple times, it is an offensive weapon, and that is the most offensive shield choice.
You got a lot of tools you can pick from regarding shields. I think we've covered all the shields. I recommend everybody have a shield.
For me, for the arm shield like that, I wear it on that arm, but I stand like this so my buckler's here, which for me, I'm a really straightforward, or used to be, I'm getting back to it, a very straightforward, aggressive fighter. So when I'm coming in, your swords are going to be coming at me here.
The swordboard wraps.
Yeah, and I have a good handle block over here for anything that comes at me. And for me, that like arrows just gravitate towards that, and it's just a matter of twisting for spears. For some reason, this just always gets in my way. So
But he's
When I-
built his style around
And
that,
that's-
just like you need to do so as well.
One of the most difficult things to teach about red is like, here's all this stuff, but
Yeah.
if you don't like it, ignore me, because that's what I
Yeah.
did. Like when people told me what to do and change my style, I was just like, but my body likes doing this, you know, and listen to your body. You really, to fight with such a skill-reliant weapon, you have to completely just take advantage of your natural gifts.
Yep.
Like that's what you need to take advantage of, and you'll learn those over time. Take what people tell you to heart and
Yeah.
kind of play with it. But if it doesn't work for you, switch it up.
I've always said it's like this. These are all ingredients.
Yeah,
Your brownies may come out tasting different than mine.
yeah.
To go off what he
Still
said,
brownies.
if you have two sword and borders of unequal skill, the more unskilled fighter can sometimes win because he has this huge passive defense that will cover his fuck ups.
Yep.
A good sword and board versus a good red fighter, the red fighter has to be a better fighter because the sword and board can afford to make so much more mistakes, and that's in everything. You have so little room for error with red. That's why we said the first few years are going to be like, it's going to suck because you have to get good. You can go out on Ragnarok field your first day fighting with a sword and board and block spears and arrows and stuff, but if you went out there as a min red, you'd fucking stop fighting.
Yep.
But
Do you guys have any questions on shields? Types of shields, anything on the shields before we move on?
I have a lot of trouble. I know this is about using a shield, but I have a lot of trouble whenever a sword board comes and rushes me and gives me the.
I got you.
We're gonna go to sword
We're
and
calling
board
that.
as
We're
a
going to
whole
call that into
topic.
range control, and that's pretty much like the epitome of 90% of red fighters' problems. That the rush. You know, we're going to go into detail on that one.
I got you for that.
I know, I'm sorry.
Any other questions on shields?
The next thing we're probably going to get into is something that not a lot of people I see that fight red do, but I think it's probably one of your most important tools with a min red is the fact that your min red can do blue damage with one hand. And now you have 6 feet of range.
Yep.
So do you want to kind of
Yeah.
lead that discussion?
So we call this the cast, okay? And so as a red fighter, why are you doing this? Why are we casting with the blue? I am taking his mobility away, okay? If you get on your knees, kneel.
Kneel before me.
I have infinite range control over him. If I have a short weapon or a longer weapon, doesn't matter. I am in control. I can do whatever I want from him from this point. He can have a shield. Pick up a shield. This is the funnest time as a red user. I can do literally anything to this guy with a shield. Okay.
That's why leg shots are awesome.
I fight a lot with Ixis. Some of you guys know him. I like to leg him and then just feed him to Ixis.
Here.
'Cause he's just like, delicious.
Here, you.
And he can strike, and you can't do anything to me. 2 shots in the shield, he's dead, or whatnot, you know? You win the fight at this point. So that's why I recommend casting is something you want to
especially for legs.
perfect. Okay? Now, the downside of casting is it is high risk. If you screw up a cast, you better be ready to pay for it. Okay? Because if I cast and missed or it gets blocked, this is where I'm at, man. Like, oh no, you know?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
It has a
fun.
really slow recovery.
So we're going to talk about the nitty gritty detail, the mechanics of a cast. Okay. Now it can be done many ways. Now I'm just going to spitball this. Okay. My thumbs are going to be. Now this is typically for all you righties. This is your typical wham bam, what we call like a power stance. Okay. You hit hard. All right. If I'm going to cast like this, it's going to feel. Try it at home. Try it wherever. It's going to feel weird because this is your non-dominant hand and it's all alone on the weapon. And it doesn't have a lot of control because this is your bad boy, right? If you want the most optimal thing, okay, you want the most optimal. Notice how I switch? I am going to switch my hands, okay? It's my dominant hand, and it's now on the bottom, okay? You're going to have a lot more control with this, okay? So if you really want, remember what I said, you really want to sink this shot. You want the best odds for your success, put that dominant hand in charge, okay? A lot of times, I'll switch it, okay? And then we'll go from there. Now I'm in that lefty shot. I put my thumbs on the weapon, okay? Basically what this thumb is, it drives it. You see how my elbow comes and then the force goes into the thumb. It drives it, okay? That makes it easier for you. If I have it like this, we call it hammer grip, do that, you're wiggling in that soft tissue, okay? This is you're making the mechanics of the bones work for you, okay? Same with up here. You're doing basically like 2 fingers. This is kind of like your finesse, okay? So working together, this is your power. This is your finesse. I'm going to drive at the same time, and I'm going to basically like shoot this wide like a dart while this is my engine, okay? So, and then at the same time you follow it up. Why? Because I can get max range like this, and you can't get to me. So stand up
You
and
should be retreating once the strike.
yeah, because
Immediately.
if I screw up, again, I'm in a terrible position. Oh crap! And you return.
And even if you don't screw up, you still want to pull back to readjust into your primary stance. I think.
I'll help you identify some things if you're screwing up your cast. Okay? Why I can't land my cast? I'm trying to do everything you're doing. If you're screwing up your cast, you're probably telegraphing. Okay? That means you're too slow. You're like, well, he's gonna block that. Okay? That's why it's all in the quick wrist movements and this finesse. You're not even letting him. I might strike up here. Okay? You got to be able to change that direction. That's going to take time and practice, okay? But you got to land that cast. Once he's on his knees, you've broken the fight down to something more manageable.
Yep.
You guys got anything?
With casting, to completely contradict what he said, I'm left-handed. So
Yeah, but that was
I
for
never-
righties.
I never switch. We're going to go into hand matching a little bit, but I never switch. And you guys might find that you don't like switching because you fight a guy like that, he's going to pick up on it. These guys who are sword knights and have been fighting forever.
Yep.
But, I mean, 90% of
You
dag
can
gear
screw
is
him
not
up
going
with
to
constant
notice.
switching, though.
But better fighters are going to pick up on smaller things. So learning to do it without having a tell is going to let you do it quicker. And a lot of times, like he's saying, if you're not landing them, even if you're getting the speed and you're using the fingers, you might not be setting it up right. If I just like do this, he might still block it or move his shield. But if I fake high and do that, and just and at the top of that movement, just ripping your elbow back and using your whole body, just here, like that. I don't want to hit him, but that's almost faster sometimes. Just torquing into it and selling it, or just getting in that pocket, and it's going to draw all his defense up there and to the leg. If you get him to move, then you can set it up, and you're increasing your chance of success on that shot.
You're drawing their focus.
In general,
Up
if
here.
you fake anything, it increases your chance like double.
Oh yeah. You should be faking before every shot.
Yeah,
At
it doubles
least-
your chance to land a hit.
And when we're gonna talk about faking later,
No, faking,
more advanced. probably.
casting for now, but we'll
Okay.
get into that.
Yeah, but just on that note, you should have a fake before everything, and you want to make your fakes get down to the cleanest that they can be. But I cast, I'd say about 40% of my shots, or fight one-handed with a lot of my shots.
Yeah, I'm the same. Man.
And what I like to do, this is a simple trick that you can just take away and be like, yeah, I know that one. He's gonna know when I'm switching my hands. Everyone I fight knows that if I do this, I'm gonna either spin shot you or I'm gonna cast.
Or you can stab it.
Absolutely.
Or spin cast.
Or spin cast. And so my remedy to that is I keep a low grip. I drop my bottom two fingers. Don't remember this. I drop my bottom two fingers behind my pommel and I slide it up. And that's like an immediate just drop it.
Yeah.
Usually it's
That's
like,
another element of deception.
or even just like a slide. But you want to be able to make a quick transition like you were talking about. It's very important. And then another one-handed shot that is less of a cast are. Should I talk about rafts or no?
Yeah, casting is all.
Okay, so this is more advanced, and you want to do this on like a pal or a friend who won't hate you for hurting them for a while. Can you keep your shield your face low, right there?
Okay.
It's a hard shot.
Yeah.
But eventually, you can just kind of drop into one-handed stance, and they know that your options are casting. They think you're gonna drop there, and you just step in, crap, and that is like a destroyer.
That hurt.
Pick up extra range when you're in that casting. When you're blue, you pick up a ton of extra range with that, so you can do that. We also got the casting of the stabs, which I don't know if we want to go into
Yeah,
yet.
go
But
ahead.
okay, so the casting of the leg, the hard cast, the wraparounds, and then you also got the stab. Okay, now with the stab, what I consider is first off, your weapon is going to drop, so shoot a little high. Practice, don't stab your buddy in the face a million times. But right here, we're going to go from the top down, and then there's bottom up method. But from the top down, I am basically turning my wrist. Look at, that's all I'm doing, okay? Look at that drop, okay? And I'm extending while I'm doing it. So that's it,
See?
okay? And it's a snapshot like that, all right? You're turning your wrist to aim, and that is your driving force, okay? And you pick up that range, and when you do that, don't forget, turn your shoulders, okay, for that extended range if you need it.
And that can easily turn into the leg shot.
Yeah, I mean,
Even if you're fully extended, and it's pretty quick, He's talking about dropping to one-handed. A lot of times, and going off, we said being in a line. If you're just in a line, and because when you're in a line, the line is basically 8 feet apart because all spears and glaives are pretty much 8 feet. You could just set up and just start casting.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
don't try to, because if you break into no man's land and start riding shields, you're gonna get annihilated by arrows and spears. So So you could just take your time. You're doing good for your team. You're legging all these sword and borders. You can drop to that stance and try to get some pockets. It gives you more options instead of just like break shield mode all day long. So.
Or like what I often do on lines is, see, I'm not smart enough to switch to a forward shield, so I just always run a back shield. And I just kind of come up with like one of my trusted brethren, and I just get like up with them, and I just let everybody know I'm gonna cast you.
Yeah.
I don't even have to half the time, but if they like try to take out Dak when he like throws a shot, I'm just like nah.
It's safe.
It's just a safe way. I keep back. I have the ability to actually step back and block wraps to him with my back shield, which is pretty fantastic. But it's more of a support stance, which is really useful in a lot of fights.
Yeah, if somebody comes
So I'm
running in
just
the
like,
line
"Oh,
over
how
here,
about
he's
not?"
got reach.
Yeah, and you're protecting me, I'm protecting you. It's a really great synergy. It's simple.
When do I need to cast?
Threat.
When you need range, and when you need to eliminate the enemy's mobility. Okay, those are the two main reasons you need to cast.
And if you're with powerful friends, so they can't. So if I have like an awesome like pole arm with me, I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna cast all day because what are you gonna do? You know, like they can't really run up on you.
You guys are probably realizing today out there the range is very large. Okay, with these spears and stuff. So you're gonna be doing a lot of casting. You're gonna be doing a lot of stabbing. You're gonna be doing a lot of, you can also pull the stance up. The other cast, you can just do a straight down and take that arm. Now he's got armor. It's a blue shot, but still, I'm challenging his defense at this range. Okay, so
Now, a lot of times too, for a cast, since we're talking about them, if I get rushed, like I know the guy's gonna bowl me over, and I have my back shield, I will spin and leg him,
go into that.
and then I know, and then you have that hanging guard like you were talking
So
about.
see how these like different things
All
come
ties.
together, and like to couple with what we talked about back shields. If you are in a line, especially in a line, if you go for that Hail Mary and sink that green, even if you don't, just give him your shield. Like fuck it, it's like half your body. Hopefully, I mean it increases your chances of not getting hit.
This is your death zone. This is your leg. Get healed.
Because once you could take a step out, like go for that Hail Mary and just turtle back in. Like it gives you something to do on a line.
It's a retreat. It's a really good
Yeah.
retreat.
any questions on casting? We're gonna try to keep going. We're almost
I just
running
want
out
to
of time.
add something real quick. You guys mentioned how, like you were talking about casting and bringing the defense back. I just want to reinforce that because with the way they were doing it, it's good for a class. I'm gonna go with the sword and board actually. So when you're with sword and borders, like when you leg them, they're not gonna stop.
No, they're coming at you.
They're taking their leg, sure, but it's not instantaneous, right?
No.
So
You gotta get out of there. It's hot.
Yeah, so he's gonna swing, right? So let's say he hits my leg, right? I'm gonna still slide forward
and go towards
So-
his shield because then he has to reach like away, and this is your defense.
That hanging block is just golden.
It's
for
gonna
that.
look like a floppy noodle.
I think
when he
all of
hits
us
it.
do the
It's
hanging
super
block.
shitty,
That goes
but
back
you're
to
alive.
Footwork.
And it
You
shouldn't
start
even
here.
be close.
Yeah.
Your hanging block should not be. Like the idea is that it's gonna soak his shot, but it should be able to go like wee. You know, it
you
shouldn't
should
hit
be
you.
getting out of there because you're only gonna probably soak one shot because I'm gonna
yeah.
be swinging for your leg.
He's
too.
coming for you.
When to use that hanging block is if you feel that you hit him.
thank you.
Okay, I hit him. I know I hit his leg. Start hanging blocking because you're waiting for him to basically burn out, and then he's under control. Okay, I know I hit your leg. Now I'm waiting for you to basically take your 2 froofy steps, and then I'm back in control.
And that's where it comes back to footwork too, because a lot of times I'll start here. So if he rushes me, I come in
You can cast
and
as
I'm
you
back
step
already,
back
and I'm
because
coming back
you're
to my
still
defense.
gaining range. Even if you're taking 2 feet back of range, you're gaining 2 feet by letting go.
Right. What's up?
Hi, I'm Xander. A lot of you are really tiny. Like I noticed, like half of you are really skinny.
Made from inred though.
Dak, when he was talking about casting, when you don't want to change hands, so you've got your left hand dominant. Dak throws it with that wrist flick. This is. Are all of you righties? Are any of you actually lefties?
One lefty.
You're gonna want to talk to
And
this guy.
what you can do to gain control and not lose that momentum, so that you can have the force. Because some people nobody wants to take a leg shot, so you have to slam them.
Oh yeah, you have.
Like, and if you're having a hard time building the force, because obviously your left hand doesn't have a lot of force. Instead of trying to do that flick, what you want to do is when you throw it like you're throwing a red shot and just let go.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to throw it like a
absolutely.
flick, you're gonna step back and you're literally like just like you're gonna throw a red. You just woo.
So there's advantages
Like,
with
literally
both of those
just let
types.
go of it.
I gotta protect the boys.
You just let go of it and let it go. Like you don't need to control it at that point. Momentum is going, but you've given the force to make them want to take it. And I'm sorry to put it this way, but if you hit them right and you hit them hard, they don't have any choice because they're moving.
Yeah, your leg will lock up.
To go off that, with casting, you have to make sure you do what he's emphasizing, that elongation, because if you lean forward, you're about to friendly fire counts. You're gonna fucking nutshot the dude like 2 people down on your line. You're gonna leg the dude like.
I've done it many times.
You want to stop. You don't want to swing through him because this is a blue shot. It doesn't need to be like a shield breaking.
If you add power, there's always a strength to something. If you add that power, you are going to blow through, but you do lose that extra control. If you do the flick, you get more control, but you don't get that power. So it's up to you to make, like PJ said, the brownies how you want to do it. Okay? I'm just going to man mode this, and I'm going to freaking rail him, or am I going to look for something a little? And then some of that goes into knowing your enemy and stuff like that too.
And
so.
off of everybody's points, and I already mentioned it, but just everybody should start practicing a red wrap early because it's the next step. Everybody knows red swords cast.
Yeah, people are expecting you to break
Everyone
their
thinks
shield.
you're gonna cast. So when I step back and I like drop like a super powerful calf shot that wraps around whatever they got, hey, it's gonna be a Xander shot and they can't walk forward even if they want to. like I just that's all my momentum going through my body. And I'm not even strong. It's just like a whip. And then it attacks aside. It's just I think it's in the end going to be a more effective shot by the time you're going to be completely honed with the style. But that does not, by any excuse, say do not ignore casting because you're going to use it. My grab rip is actually just a meat-fisted hammer grip.
Your arm's gonna turn over naturally.
Yeah, and in like slow mo, it's just a wrap. It's just stepping in, pulling back, and it's striking with the back of the blade.
If you have trouble getting the wrap off, you end up flatting people. It's just like with a blue sword, you keep your thumb here, and when you turn in, it's already going to cut in for you.
And one thing that I think is one of the most, I think I was talking to you about Rage, one of the most important things about, in learning Red Sword is you need to find a friend who likes you a lot.
Yep.
And I had Exo, Dak and Ixes had their combination, and you have to have somebody who's okay with getting hit in the face. And I probably caused permanent damage to Exo. Like,
And I know X can probably never have men.
Yeah, it's
probably took away that X chromosome. So.
And that's really important. Oftentimes it's best to find somebody else who's learning red because there's like an empathy about it. Like when I slap Exo in the head with my experimental spin shot and knock him unconscious, he gets back up, he's like, man, I don't know, maybe we should like re-angle that. He like doesn't even care about, you're past that point. And that's so important. Like it's funny, but it's so important to have that because if you don't have someone to grow with and to challenge you together, you're not going to go as quickly, and it's not going to be as safe.
You look out here, you see all these sword and borders, they're sparring together.
Yes.
You got to do the same thing, guys.
And you should find some sword and borders that want to duel you too.
Yeah.
That's the
95% of the field is sword and borders.
Well, 95% of the field now is spearmen. But
We'll do that. The last thing I'll say about casting, before because we got to kind of move along, is if, like how he was talking about fighting people down the line. If you're, especially a sword and board, if you let your arm turn over naturally, what is that, like a dark side? When you let it, you can come up under that sword and board and get a hip or something. If you let that kind of a
Well,
shot.
we have the advantage because we're lefties, so we're naturally doing that.
Yeah.
I have even more advantage because I'm actually right-handed, but I fight left-handed. So
yeah, if you
my
got
cast
It's hard
is
to
like-
do it
Right
right
up
here.
on
You
it.
can do it.
See, I've almost completely abandoned the traditional cast, and it just because it's people just a lot of people have fought me on red and they know that like this guy is gonna try to cast.
It's like you have to evolve with everyone else.
Yeah.
Right.
As people evolve to you, you have to go to the next level.
I
Make
can't
sure
cast
you
tough
land
is.
it. Make sure
Yeah.
it's hard enough. You do not want to
High
miss
risk,
this
high
shot,
reward.
okay? You miss this shot,
Dope.
probably dead. And if you're not, he's not that good enough
But
to
if
take
you
it.
leg a sword and board, you should win the fight.
Yes.
You know what I
okay?
mean? It just
This is your sniper rifle.
Or you should at least have a friend who'll come kill him. Like,
Yeah, leave them alone after that.
Anything about casting?
I know there's a few people that had their hands raised, but they didn't get it answered.
Well, if you had a question, go for it.
Oh no, I had a question before. At one point, I saw you casting and you had like your hand on the blade. Is that allowed?
Okay, just as a rules clarification,
Yeah.
you can grab your own sword. The rule, it's not sufficient force for one, but you can grab your own sword, you can double green people, you can red people. But that's more advanced and not even a lot of people do that. So if come to the advanced class, I think X1 might talk about that.
Yeah, so
I don't even know how to do that stuff.
But anyways, we're gonna get into fighting sword and board, fighting spears, fighting flow, all the different combos. So Vice, you maybe want to lead off talking about fighting sword and board?
absolutely. Anybody want to grab a sword board for me? I'll be nice about it.
Thane just took his sword with him.
It's alright. We'll have it.
No blues?
Anybody else have a blue?
I just wanted to be in there.
Just use a min red.
Yeah, whatever.
All right.
Not close.
My place in the world.
All right.
So, I love fighting sword and board. There's no better thing in the world to me than a one-on-one sword and board duel, and that's because it's like once you're like well honed with this, you have the advantage against an equally skilled opponent. I think as a red swordsman. But rule number one for me is I don't break shields ever. I do when I am lazy, I guess, and they're like stuck in a line. Everything I do with a sword and board fighter, I begin with a fake. And my fakes are, you don't want, this isn't a fake. A fake is the muscle movements that lead into that shot. So you refine that to just like a twitch that will lock them on one side and then a drop. And the majority of my kills on a sword and boarder are that shoulder. And Exo can speak for that. It's like pretty much all I do against most sword and boarders is I lock them and drop. And it is a risky shot. When I first began though, I switched to red sword because I got back from digging holes in the desert with a pickaxe. So I had this movement down. And that's really all I did is I'd be like, oh, and they'd want to rush you. And immediately they come in and you just drop. And they will take that swing at you once they think they've broken the range. And like we were talking about before, let me just think of my stance. So I'm up on him. He's going to break my range and swing at my stomach. And that's when the slide to the toes, like kind of swing at my stomach here. Okay. The slide at my toes come together and I just take that arm. And that shot alone got me through about 3 years. I mean, it's basic stuff, but
Practice that. It's kind of vertical, you know. Be safe with it.
do it with your buddies.
And
yeah.
notice how he's sliding his hands down. You're losing a lot of control. So
But you're gaining power by doing
when
that.
you're starting off, maybe not 11 with that,
No,
but 45
Sorry.
it more. Go for the wrist or something.
At this point, it's so hard to scale back to what I was doing. And then, so one of my favorite things against sword and boarders, which is a lot safer, is a key foundation to my style is blade manipulation. So he's got this blade. He's like, I'm gonna fight you. And I'm like, and that. What do you do about that? You either don't throw a shot, or I get your arm, because you can follow up that immediate snap with like a double chop and kind of walk the diamond, I guess, or circle.
I'm
them.
defending right here because he just manipulated my weapon, and I had to throw a shield as kind of an emergency pull sword. Now he's over here now.
To add on to that, when you're fighting a sword and boarder, don't back straight up because they can run forward fast and you can run backwards.
Yes.
And you're gonna be you're not usually gonna encroach on a sword and boarder unless they're like super timid. You're gonna be 45ing to the left or the right.
That's extremely important. I don't know how many red fires, and I am
Walk
guilty
the
of it
diamond.
by will.
Walk the
I
diamond.
am
Especially
guilty
if
of
they're
it
trying
as
to
well.
bash
We
you.
all are. Do not backpedal. It's instinctual. I don't know what to do. That's your first you're probably doing it and you don't even realize it. Go around them. Go do angles, okay? If you go straight back, you're in the disadvantage.
If you're rushing me, most of the time, I'm going to take a step in because I'm using a huge foundation. My style is using their shield as my defense.
Yep.
Yeah.
The bigger the shield, the easier to do that with. So he comes in, I step, I'm like, thanks for the shield, and then I start dropping. And because there's really not that much he can do. Don't do burst shots like that. But
You
I was
can-
like, my head.
You can. Sorry, I'm just grabbing your sword.
Dude, yeah.
You can hit them high like this and push them. And so if they try to swing at you, you have that handle block here again. In here, and then it's just shoulder.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to talk about kicking real quick. I know kicking's fun. We all love kicking. It's also extremely hard to practice. I recommend for starting kicking, practice with a buddy. I mean, you got to do it a lot. Ask yourself, really, right now, ask yourself, how often do you really kick? I mean, not that much, okay? And if you do, awesome, okay? Kicking is another way to get him away from you. You know, Vice is doing basically an evasion approach, okay?
Yeah.
And this really works for big guys too. You get more power. I mean, I'll kick Avias because we're kind of the same weight. But if I get like Ragefire or Rothgar on me, I may fly backwards, okay?
Your ankle might fall, at least break that. Like,
You have to take in considerations. Two objects are colliding here, and something's going to give, okay? Maybe you, maybe them. So I'm going to say what to kick with, okay? With a tower shield, kicking's good.
Yeah.
Regardless whether or not
Yeah.
he has a strap or a punch, I can kick this, okay? If he has a punch that's small like this guy, do not kick this because what's going to happen is A, it's unsafe for the shieldman, and B, it's going to teeter-totter. You're going to lose all of your momentum, and it's just going to be a sloppy kill or be killed, okay? This is something different. I'll talk about that in a second. But I'm talking about the pushback kill, the pushback kick, okay? So if he comes at me, I'm kicking and striking right away, okay? So, and actually what it's going to be is a strike, kick, strike. Okay, I strike, he comes in, I strike again. You're using that stop momentum in your benefit. He just took 2 on the shield, okay? So, strike comes in, strike.
And
that's
on my,
2 on the shield.
On my end, he's depleting my momentum on my sword arm.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to throw a powerful shot because if he's kicking on this edge, I'm like, oh man, all my stuff's like,
Notice how all the suppressing shot is coming in over there, you know?
dang it, shoot. And and especially if he has a back shield in that, like, what the hell am I gonna do?
One other type of pushback kick, and this is risky, and it's the old Ixes, I'll give a homage to him. I'm kicking with my foot,
Oh, yeah,
okay?
open.
You are the Ombak, you guys ever saw the Ombak movie? You basically coming high, and you can shin it, okay? You big guys, this will send them flying, okay? Building more potential at your core, and you can just boom, and they're flying, okay? Pick up a punch real quick. Well, what? No, not strap, not strap.
Oh, just punch. Well, that's how it passed. Hold
All right, so a dude comes at you with this. You see these guys with little speed shields all the time. You want to kick because he always gets up in your Cheerios. Instead of kicking and pushing, you can manipulate. You can kick it to the side and open them up.
Just like.
I mean, it's coreless.
Yeah.
You're gonna be able to tell the way they move.
Yeah,
It's coreless.
absolutely.
You can kick it to the side and strike them. Again, I'm moving it with my foot. I'm not doing that push.
Don't kick him in the
I'm
ribs.
doing
Yeah.
doing that open
This
up.
is
Okay?
all, again, stuff you want to practice with the buddy.
With your
like-
buddy.
That takes a ton of
Buddy.
practice and finesse.
So I've got one other kick, sort of foot manipulation, less of a kick, if you don't mind. My shield guy. I think Exo and I use this one. We kind of lost favor with this one, but I think it's still a great shot, which is just the pull down. So I just pull down and drop.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, you're like catching the fabric of a shield.
Yep.
And you're like, and again, this is coreless. This will not work on a strap shield.
No.
It won't work on a
I don't
wooden core.
really do it on circle shields or anything.
Yeah. I mean, remember, like, this thing is punch, so his pivot is right here. There's not a lot to it. He can get away with that. But I mean, this is a big shield too, so you got some options. Again, a plethora of tools for your disposal. Okay.
Absolutely.
You try it again. Do that really quick.
So
then.
it's just to come up with a pull down and a drop.
And he actually, it's so quick. I'm like, damn. So that is something. One thing I will say that's unsafe. Do not be a dick. Okay, and you already know what I'm gonna do. Okay. Basically,
Do
hit
I?
your head. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Oh, you don't know what I'm doing. These dudes with the shield right here like this. Do not do this shit.
Oh no.
That's
no,
how
no.
you
The
piss
tongue-
somebody
it's like
off.
Somebody loses a tongue.
Okay. Don't
Yeah.
kick underneath. Kick from the side. Kick from the angles. Don't kick underneath. Okay,
And
guys.
one that I don't know how people feel about this kick, but I do it. And it's one of my favorite anti-Roman devices. But if they're moving at like kind of a slow charge, and I'm not bigger than them, I put my foot here.
Yeah.
I place it above their center of gravity. Because if I'm there, I'm like, oh, and I just
But
step
again,
back.
it's,
Like,
if I was a bigger guy or a small guy, how fast
nothing
I'm
bad.
moving, no, you have to take that into consideration.
absolutely.
Okay?
I wouldn't
So-
do it against like anyone. Like you're too tall for me to want to deal with that. Like that's just I would lose my
You end
leg.
up on your ass.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of an effective, but sloppy in some ways
Yeah.
technique. So
To go along with shield kicks, a safety note, once you get to a certain, like that round shield, like that, like a 28 or 30 inch, that's about as small as I'd go for kicking.
If it's strapped to his arm.
Yeah, if it's
Yeah.
strapped to his arm, like these 24-inch punches, if you can try, but if he moves it and you kick him in the stomach, even though he moved it, you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and there's, with a small 24-inch punch, there's a lot more options than just fucking kicking
Almost
the dude.
anything that's strapped to their forearm, you can kick.
Yeah, you want, you
You
don't
can
want
push
to be
kick.
an asshole on the
Don't soccer kick something that's strapped to their arm. Maybe wood core. Don't
Yeah.
break your metatarsals.
What about the pushing off retreating kick?
That's what we
what
were
we did.
basically talking about. We're just kind of going. We're out of time.
one last shield manipulation technique I use all the time now is usually you're gonna have range or at least pretty considerable equal range. Is what I'm coming up a lot is like poking and dropping because if
Yeah.
you, like a lot of people will keep it higher to protect their shoulders. So what I'm doing is I just press it and then drop. And that press, because so many people keep it just flat. If
Yeah.
you see somebody who's keeping it flat, that means that's excellent for you because you can manipulate it very effectively and predictably.
Consider the options of
press.
the shield, though. This is a coreless punch.
Punches,
that
yeah.
won't work against a wooden core with a structure. It'll just be like, no.
Unless it's big enough.
Yeah.
Unless it's big enough.
Yeah. So try to remember, okay, what can I do against the type of shield that you're opposing? So, all right. Anything else?
Pick it
before
up,
we
yeah,
keep
for
going?
Stormboard. To basics, here, face this way since you're ready. To chain together what we've talked about handle blocking, you kind of want to remember that 90% of the people in the field are going to do the same thing if you do the same thing to them. For instance, if you open with this shot They're gonna chase you with the hip.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna. So you know, before you throw that shot, as soon as you throw it, you've got that block, and you're gonna 45, and you could just repeat that, just boom, 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 shield broken, block again, kill him, and that's where you should be. I mean, he's got great stuff, but that's pretty advanced. So to keep in mind, to go striking and blocking it's gonna give you more time to think too. These quick double maneuvers are really good. You should do all of it.
What do you mean talking about double maneuvers?
Like where he's like stabbing and chopping, like the fakes and stuff.
Combos.
Yeah. Go back to sword and board and lefty in there, and with Dexter, I would encourage you to try hand matching because I think only against sword and board is when it really helps. Is instead of dealing with the shield, you've got the sword, and now there's two types of fighters. You've either got the people who've got their sword down by their hip, who are gonna handle block everything you throw at them, and it's gonna be a waste of time to throw it there. Or you've got these guys who are in I desire the high cross land, and you know as soon as you hit here, you're triggering them. You're gonna high cross.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
gonna, boom, done. So
Yeah,
you
because
can
they're already ready. Like they're already ready to do that.
it's a predictable turn. A shot makes them throw B shot, which leaves you to block and return with C shot. And you can walk the field because a lot of people are walking around like this because they fight other sword and boarders and they just want to high cross all the time. So keeping it super simple like that and having a preset thing in your head of what you can do to people makes you not have to think so much on the field.
I've got one really simple thing and one more advanced thing that help a lot against sword and borders. So my favorite shield breaking shot is just the 1-2 offside onside, because you're fast. You got to be fast for this. You got to train to be fast, and you're like boom. And the moment I hit them, he's responding.
He wants to chase
and
you.
I'm dropping it on that side. So like that's just like the whoop, whoop, and
That's bread and butter.
that is the bread and butter of the style.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming. I was like,
Once you nail that down, you can take out the vast majority of sword and borders.
You can also fake it. You could fake
Yeah.
on side and just God, and then you feel so good. You
that a
smoked
lot.
him. He has to stand here like this and be like, damn it. You
Oftentimes
can't do
you're
anything.
like, I don't know, how did you just hit it?
Yeah.
You just hit it. It's
Just a
there.
simple, just
For,
take it off.
chill up for a second.
Sure,
For
man.
fighting sword and board, this works
Oh,
two
you
ways.
did.
Like I said,
Imagine
you
for
can
sword
initiate
board.
it and you can be the aggressor. But if you find yourself getting rushed and you can't control it right away, what a lot of dudes will do if they don't go for the hip wrap, they're gonna try to tie your sword up, and that's when you're like, no, that's not happening. And you chop them, or you can move past them and you can keep going. Because that's important, and that's when that one handle block,
Yeah,
if you don't do it a lot,
that's how I think it
that's
is.
where you're going to use it. You're going to go in and you're going to bind, and you're going to step past them and hit their
But
back.
at that point, guys, you are still at a very big disadvantage.
Yeah.
You don't want to be there. This is like
That's like a
that's
like
what I said,
you're
like,
shitting your
dual
pants
only,
kind of thing.
because
Yeah.
you're moving into their.
That's what I'm
their
saying.
zone.
If that guy
Yeah.
charges out of the line because he's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's just a min red user, it's like, not today. And then you're back
You can
here.
always rely on the high cross with 95% of the people. You can they live and die by it, so you can too. You know what I mean? And like I said, being lefty really only is an advantage for sword and board. So he's lefty like me, so I wanted him to kind of do some sword and board stuff as well. Or no, versus sword and board.
Versus sword and board. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Because we have a lefty, and I would encourage you guys to try it because it is really interesting when you're hand matching someone.
A lot of times, one of my favorite just immediate sword shield breaking stuff is I'll go in for the first shield chop on the left, and then I'll retreat as they're coming in and go in.
And in the
Right.
middle,
Two
you
on the
saw
hand
he had that
He hit
inverted
here
block.
and then he hit here.
Yeah, it's just here, and if he does get into range, I have this to go into the next.
Or especially if
Kapow.
they chase with that hip wrap.
Yep.
Like
Yeah,
a lot of
I'm
people-
just high crossing, rushing him because a shieldman, once you take a solid blow on their shield, they're like, this is it, all in or nothing.
Yep.
They're kind of freaking
And
out
that's
too.
awesome though. It's predictive. It makes someone do
Yeah,
what
Red
you
Sword
want them
101,
to.
something you need to remember, as soon as you hit a shield, you triggered them into charging you
Yeah.
for the most
Which
part.
is great.
Starting to
It's
fight.
great
Yeah,
because
that starts the fight. It's like
Yeah.
a shot clock.
yeah, it's amazing.
And you only get a half a second to think. So a lot of times when I started learning how to red, I was like, I'm just gonna do this move. And one time just like, he wasn't even there. He was like, over there. I was like, that's fine. I'm
Whatever.
practicing
Yeah.
that motion because you have, in the end, you're not even thinking at the time. There's not enough time to think when you're right here and he's charging you.
A lot of it is just intimidation.
And when you're fighting sword and board, another really important thing is to throw up a block even after you've already killed them to their
Yeah.
own possible
Yep.
strike zone.
Some people.
Because
They're like a wild raccoon. You put the
gotta
damn thing
put
down.
it's coming
like,
for you though.
Yeah, it's still fighting and
It's got
flailing
rabies
even after
and
you
it'll
put a few
bite.
rounds into
Yeah.
it. It's still like,
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
freaking.
Yeah.
And so every time I kill a sword and border, I'll like, oftentimes it's like the clean shoulder cut, but like I'll drop the shoulder cut. Usually I've got them baked so they don't even pump. And I just whop, and then I already have it here, like just looking, waiting for my next
All right,
fight.
we're doing this. Okay.
Like because you just need to know, and you got to cover your bases because you're gonna look like an asshole if you don't take that follow-up shot over and over and over and over and over.
If he
Even
hit
if
this
you're in the
shield,
right.
I'm coming in full bore regardless, and it's his issue.
Yeah.
If he took my shoulder, I'm still coming
Yeah,
in.
absolutely.
Because if he took it and I stand here, well, the fight's over.
And to a lot of people in this game, this is arm. So
Or neck.
or neck. So you gotta keep that in mind.
Especially, where we're.
right.
Yeah, this
And
is bad.
one, oh sorry.
Safety. What something somebody asked around, I think we do need to cover it, is if you find this guy and you're like, light,
Light.
or hand, and that's going, you have two options. Some people are like, yeah, just break their fucking hand. Cool, that guy's like not fighting and now you're an asshole and you're
Yeah,
giving
no.
Red Wizards a bad name. So if they're calling light, you can keep trying to swing harder, but guess what? When I get to like 110%, PJ bumps into me on the line, it's going right in his fucking
yeah,
mouth.
I do that.
And you're the bad guy, even though he's cheating.
How many of
So-
you guys have a problem with taking your red shots? People not taking your reds.
Make
Okay.
sure
It's
we
about
all
half
do,
of you
but-
guys, and we all do. But again, most of that comes from your mechanics. Maybe
Yeah,
you're not hitting
start it
hard
back
enough.
at the mechanics, re-examine
Yeah,
it, make sure
re-examine
that's
your
not the
mechanics.
problem. Go to the leg shot, just
And-
leg them. You know what I mean?
And you
Leg
want to
'em.
hit their body.
Yeah,
Number one.
you don't
Oh, I mean, we can talk about this.
don't take the low road on that.
I mean, and like as like
We didn't talk about changing
as like a
angles.
group of fighters, you really just have to have people associate red fighters with each other, no matter what. So if I am a total flagrant asshole, then EXO pays for it. You know, like they're gonna associate that. Everyone that I associate with, because we're kind of a big clique as a
Yeah.
group of fighters, it's just not good. So just, I mean, we don't have to say that. Just be honorable.
If someone's not taking your shots,
Yeah.
you do have to hit harder. Don't do some crazy stuff.
Keep it
If he's
like-
not taking nothing,
keep it here,
then
yeah.
maybe it's
Yeah.
time to drive it home.
If that
but
doesn't
that's
work,
safe.
dude, there's no rule saying you gotta fight somebody. There's 400 people
Yeah,
on the team.
exactly.
Just
Walk
go down
away.
and be like, see you, dude, you're a good fighter. Like,
Exactly.
bye, I'm going to fight this guy. or
Come back with
whatever.
a pull arm friend.
Yeah, or a
Once had a
bow.
guy, I hit him so hard, took a plastic chunk out of his shield and they called it light. I just walked away. You know, it was just no.
There's no reason you gotta keep fighting this.
I've got
I kept that piece.
one like, and like a lot of people start fighting with this because it's a pretty fancy ass combo and it makes it fun. I mean, why else would you do something so difficult and often ineffective? So one really easy shot that's pretty safe. It's a basic spin shot that I started using at sword and board
Hold on,
only the
hold on.
last month.
We're gonna do spin to thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, he has one
Yeah.
more thing, and then we're gonna close
Absolutely.
with that.
Absolutely.
So we're running out of time. Go ahead, Dexter.
All right, so one thing as a lefty,
You can say that.
that's not good.
What's up?
Another thing as a lefty, I think we only have one lefty right now, right? Other than us. Pay attention to how they're holding their sword in their guard. There's a lot of different things you can do as a lefty. Your sword is already on their sword side. So depending on what kind of guard they have, like the guard that Dak has right now, you can
It's
slide.
open. See, you can get inside that.
You can slide down. You can go and go like that.
Sometimes they'll
Think
little
of
bit
think of your strike as a lever, like kind of like what we were talking about earlier. You have a lot of options as a lefty to get around all kinds of different guards they have. If you're striking and you can do a bunch of different stuff with the same opponent too. Because at first, if I do that strike down and then I fight them again, they're gonna be like, I hate that, and they're gonna keep their guard in again. And you can.
Hey, he got me right on the forearm and in the shoulder. If you guys didn't see that.
Yeah, turn around so they can see
don't
that.
try this.
Yeah. You won't want to use some footwork for it, but you have this. You can use the back edge and stuff like that. It's probably a little bit more advanced if we talk about back edge stuff. But there's all kinds of different angles you can work at with two hands that you can't do with one hand.
I'm gonna say
And vice versa too. So as a lefty, pay attention to how they're holding their sword. If they've got too high of a guard and their shield's big like that, you can sometimes drop down and hit from below into their underarm. If their guard's really low,
And if it's open, you can come
yeah,
inside.
if it's open, you can just slide in. If their guard's really low to try to protect their hip, you can always try to hit over the back and stuff like that.
So you're reaching a little bit. Again, this is avoiding the shield. You're not hungry for that. You're hungry for this stuff. This is where the meat is, all right? All the while he's suppressing that shot, I can't return very well because I'm forcing to having to block that shot. I can, but it's not very good. And you're gonna slow the fight down. Like you're gonna reduce it to a manageable speed and level to where I'm not in control and you're more in control.
And
Okay.
if you do manage to get that arm,
No, but I'm gonna be with that. All right,
occasionally.
All right.
we gotta. This is kind of the end, but said we'd give you guys some spin shots just for fun at the end. This is you can't go and do these tomorrow on the field. This is.
And I think we all do spins differently. So
Yeah, it's there's always a better option, but it's really fun. They can be effective, but like he said, this is where you need your training buddy.
Yeah.
Because it can end so very wrong.
I've pretty much knocked EXO unconscious multiple times, like I said, yeah.
So, I think you've got one and you've got the basic spin. Because you should go to the advanced class because they're going to talk a lot more about this, but we can leave you with a couple fun things to do.
Yep.
So, go ahead first.
Oh yeah, sword and board if you don't mind. This is I actually just recently came up with this one after messing around with sword and board again. A retreating shot, and it's something you can do with one arm if you get arm in your left arm. And we'll go over this a lot in our advanced class, which is mainly going to be about like the manipulation of you're fighting a person's brain, you're not fighting their body, and about how to manipulate that. But here, this one's pretty basic. If I act afraid, you got my arm, or I'm like this, I act afraid, he runs in on me, and I pivot. And it's so simple. It's so simple, and it's safe. What it is you lock it in,
Yep.
you got your arm right here, and he runs in, and you just pivot it. And
It's a blue hit.
It's a chump shot, for sure. But it's a safe one you can kind of mess around with
You
your
ain't
buddy.
gonna hurt anybody with that, and it's
Yeah.
fun. And literally,
Yeah.
if you're one arm anyways, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna do something stupid.
Yeah, and
You know?
like,
Why not?
we have it on video. Watch the footwork that I just did there. It is a little advanced, and we're going to go over footwork a lot more in EXO's class. But it's a basic safe shot.
Do you want to do the red v red one?
I'll do basically a simplified foundation of what my spins are. Okay, so you got two spins. You got the 180 and the 360. And the 180 again, this is your power spot. I'm actually going to go into that left-handed round because I'm going to be hitting him right here. But you want a greater chance of success, aim lower. Okay. You want a greater chance of failure, you aim more towards his core where he has his handle, shield, whatever, okay? So, again, like I said, back to what we talked about, you're on your toes, okay? This is a 180 shot. I'm actually blind hitting him. I'm going to hit him right there. Basically, I'm getting him like that, and I'm coming right back around, okay?
His feet aren't moving at all.
I can actually turn and return.
Yeah.
Two blues, okay? That's a 180. Right here at the 180 point, I'm feeling for that hit. But it is probably extremely
spot.
fast, okay? But it allows me to return back to neutral fast enough, okay? Now, huh?
The setup, like how you get there.
Well, I mean, yeah, you switch your hands, or you do, what Axel does, and then you're leading with this foot, and your toes up.
Coming off a block.
You're basically, so he's a lot of times spins will increase in chance of hit, go for lower, and if you meld it into a block. So you got that handle block, I'm already in that left hand
halfway
block.
spun.
I'm already right there. Okay? And I know that he can't return a shot because I just blocked his shot. When I come back around, he's on his knees, or if I hit it, I know I'm already running.
Yeah.
I'm gone.
And that's that shot. There's so much momentum that
It happens very quickly.
there's a moral dilemma. I threw that shot into one of my friends' faces and broke his nose, altering his face shape forever.
Start low.
Yeah, start with the ankle.
And I was low. So you're gonna practice on your friend multiple times, but occasionally you're gonna have somebody who, when you're in your mid spin, legging your buddy, and he's all of a sudden here, and his nose is now permanently straight up Owen Wilson status.
Sometimes you guys might not be able to pull that shot off physically because you don't have the wrist strength yet for it. You need to practice it. It's going to take a lot of wrist strength to basically wind this thing around and bring it back forward, okay? It's going to take, sometimes you guys are not physically capable yet. Practice it safely, and that's basic spin, and that allows you to do it fast. And remember, on your toes, if you're flat foot, you can't do this. On my toes, you see how my toes spin? That's what allows you to do what you can do.
Notice that all their spins are right-handed.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I have one thing I want to tack on there before you do that. On all of the spins, like that one especially, during the advanced class, I think we're gonna kind of run you through it personally and your body mechanics, because everybody's different. just so you have a basic foundation of how to throw it safely. So
Yeah.
please come. If you want to throw that shot, I'd really, really appreciate if you came to the advanced class because there is a moral burden. All right.
With the spin, like I said, they're all spinning right because most of the time there's no reason to spin into someone's shield. You just like let them kill you. Exactly. And if it's a sword or a red sword, blocking across your body is so much easier. Like if I spin this side and he's got red real quick, like Minred.
Okay.
Like yeah, it's easier for him to block over here than to tuck fucking torque back on that side. So that's why they're spinning to their right side. And as a lefty, I often find that, especially against a sword board, once I cross the center line, it's faster for me to spin than to try to go, because especially if he's charging, I don't want to go past his face and like hit him in the head or whatever. And this is with the back shield. As soon as I cross, right,
I'd hit your back
this
shield.
is a pretty damn big shield. But
Spins
yeah,
are great with back shields. He's using that as an extra
you're letting
tool
it
as well. So.
hit the back shield, and
No.
like Exo's fucking quote, drastic defense sets you up for drastic offense. Like Dak spin, I'm not like spinning in place. It's just a 180. It's as soon as I'm past that center line, you're unwinding your whole body right there.
I want that.
You gotta cut out
I want that
all
red
the.
sword.
And like they said, start low with that.
Yeah.
And there's the other
Practice
way
with your friend.
and like he's talking about baits and stuff. The only other way I would do that is to stand here and drop my guard. So he's like, I want your shoulder.
Yep.
Yeah,
Just like that.
you're
That's
setting
a
it
great
up for a
shot.
predictable
Yeah.
return too, and just like that, I'm in a tech shot where I want to basically go that way. I need to have that block over here. I can basically lead it open so he wants this side,
Hey.
and then I block, and then I'm able to do
Yeah,
that.
you could do it without a back
set
shield.
this combo up 2 steps ahead of time, and that's how you perform these spins so effortlessly.
And don't do that spin on lefties.
Yeah, like you said, start low. The sparring partner thing is a huge point. Start it with low power because you have so much potential to just wreck someone.
It will ruin someone's year
Yeah.
in the wrong time.
Get the foundation down, and then you
Yeah.
can go from there.
Is there any questions about anything?
Anything
spins,
on the class
whatever,
in general.
This is it.
We're done talking.
The
So
advanced class.
Go for it.
One thing about spins, though,
yeah.
Florentine and stuff. I think Exo. We're not gonna go against every weapons combination because he does have a red class. I don't want to forget to talk about everything and have him.
In general, I'd say take their legs.
But like the concepts like legging someone, like the range control, the defense. That's what you need to bring to it.
He's got blue. You got
That's-
more range than him. Cast that shit out. And then,
Yeah,
then
Lego.
use
You
this.
don't need like the spin shit. That's just for fun. You know what I mean? But
So
the
anything
basic
else?
stuff. Yeah.
We haven't done that.
Any questions?
All right, guys.
Thank
You got
you
any
for coming.
personal
This is
questions? You
fun.
can hit us up. We'll hang back for a little bit too. So
Wednesday at 4 or 5, Exo's having
4?
his class as well.
Yeah,
You should
Wednesday
really
at
go.
4. Wednesday at 4.
Yeah, for sure. Or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
There you
And
go.
if you like at any point, at least for me,
Yeah,
you
find us.
Find us. We can talk about tech. That's a cheater thing. And thank you for listening to us.